Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of The Stash Report from The Stash Project. Today's the 24th of July, 2015, and it's been a relatively odd little week. Not in my personal life, just within the hobby life, because of the fact that this month has 5 Fridays, and it pretty much is the longest month of the year in that sense. None of the domestic stuff, with one exception, has actually shown up yet. All of your Revell stuff and all the Round 2 stuff is still in, as well as the Mobius Plymouth Satellite, are all just sort of floating around in shipping space out there, and they haven't actually landed anywhere as of yet. So all of that stuff, for the guys who are anxiously awaiting the Revell Round 2 and Mobius stuff, are just going to have to hang on probably another 3 or 4 days until the middle of next week. It was also Marine Day in Japan on Monday, this past Monday, and that meant everything was closed for a 3-day weekend. Marine Day is not a Semper Fi kind of holiday. It is a, being thankful for the blessings of the ocean and the success of maritime Japan. Most people use it the way a lot of people here use Memorial Day or Labor Day or the 4th of July weekends, to use it as an excuse to go to the beach. And God bless them in that sense. So there's not a whole lot to talk about from Asia. There's not a whole lot to talk about from the United States. It's going to be a short video. So strap in, hang on, we'll be done in a few minutes. We have one new kit to talk about and a couple of reissues. One announcement to talk about. And that is, and this is kind of an oddball to me, I did not expect to see this when I woke up this morning because I believe that they were out of this market entirely. And that is the fact that Trumpeter, for September, will be reissuing the 1/12 scale Ford GT40 Mark II. I have never possessed this kit. I own one large-scale kit that I bought for next to nothing because it wasn't complete, and then by the time I completed it, I guess you guys probably know the story of that Porsche, Tamiya Porsche that I have. It still cost me about half as much as the actual kit would cost by going back and finding all the parts I needed for it. At any rate, so I don't have large scale. I don't know anybody who has one of these kits off the top of my head, and just doing a little background search on it this morning, I knew of a couple of them I've seen built in forums, but there were also older builds, and I can't find them anymore. I'm sure that if I really sat down and looked for them, but I don't care. But it is a Trumpeter kit. And for a lot of the automotive guys, I know there's a lot of military guys here, and a lot of subject kind of people, and that's not about your proclivities in the bedroom. That's because you build armor and cars, or IPMS in general and cars. Would know Trumpeter best as being a armor and ship. I think it did some planes. I really don't know that side of Trumpeter that well. I do know they do a lot of tanks, armor, and boats, or ships. And, for the military guys, Trumpeter isn't that bad a deal. There's been, accuracy issues and stuff like that, but it's never been the hootenanny of a mess that it was for the automotive guys through all of the disastrous 1/24 scale kits they did, with the exception of the American La France fire truck, which, although curbside, mainly probably because it was done through computerized CAD data, is actually a halfway decent kit. All the rest of those kits are dubious at best. The convertible Nova probably being the best of those, or the best of the worst, But, like I said, I don't know much about it. It's 310 pieces. It is full detail the way Tamiya did full detail large-scale kits, wiring, tubing, photo etch, whole 9 yards. Looks like this thing's going to ballpark in somewhere between about $150 and $200, depending on where you buy it from. It's $162 and change with the exchange rate in Japan right now, and I don't know, other than maybe ordering through Taiwan or perhaps Hong Kong, you're going to get it for a cheaper price because, of course, U.S. hobby shops, if they even carry it in the first place, will do their 60% markup that they usually do on everything, which ends up putting it above $200 at that point. So if you're interested in it, because I'm not, so I'm not going to do the research for you, Google is your friend. Do your research before purchasing the kit. If you have any experience with Trumpeter kits, you know sort of what you're getting yourself into. The box art looks redonkulous. If the kit looked like the box art did, it would never have sold at all. I don't know who drew a picture of the GT40, but it's just wildly out of proportion. Usually you expect Asian kit manufacturers, your Tamiya, Hasegawa, Fujimi, Aoshima, when they all do line drawings of the cars for the box art, they're realistic pictures of the car if they're not actual pictures. And Trump and I never did that. They always did drawings, and they always seem to be someone's interpretation of someone's kindergartner drawing a car. So it is what it is. Do your research if you're interested in that. I'm surprised that they are reissuing it. They said they were done with automotive entirely because of how poorly their kit sold. They seem to be, of the opinion that we just didn't know what the hell we were talking about, as opposed to a Chinese company making American cars that clearly had never seen any part of those cars in their entire lives. So I guess that's pretty much it. There really isn't any other announcements. All of the July GT3 decals for Studio 27 are in. That was a Door Motorsports McLaren 12C. That was actually supposed to be a June set, but there was some sort of hiccup in the manufacturing of it, so they had to delay it for a month. And that would also be your Zack Speed SLS, your Mark VDS kits, both from the 2014 Nuremberg ring, the 2015 Nuremberg ring race, and the number 71 SLS from Team Russia, their Pro-Am car from the 2015 Monza. There are two other SLS cars that are supposed to be out in July. As of yet, we have 7 days? We have 7 days. I'm sitting here doing the math off my calendar. I have 7 days. It's a week, Friday. Until July ends, and as of yet, those two other SLS decal sets aren't even up for pre-order, so chances are those are going to slide into August. Unless they put them up for pre-order like tomorrow or Monday and then deliver them on Friday. Stranger things have happened. Trying to look at my sheet here. Yeah, nothing right now. I will say that for the people who are waiting on the Mobius Plymouth satellite, that kit was released in Japan on the 17th, last Friday. So it's almost there. It's literally almost there. The Ford F-Series pickups that Mobius did, there was quite a bit of, it'll be here, and then it kept, sliding for 3 years backwards until, it finally came out. This kit, like I said, has been released in Japan. So it is probably going to come out next week. If not, it'll be out the first week of August. It is right there pending for you guys who are interested in that subject. We'll just do this real quick because I know, I usually do the domestic stuff first. So the only kit that was released this week from a domestic kit manufacturer is this 1/32 scale Lindbergh branded 1940 Ford convertible. This, of course, is a very, very vintage kit. I don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, because I never built 1/32 scale. I'm not a scale bigot like some people are. It's just 1/32 is too small for me. At least the armor being 1/35 scale, most tanks and stuff like that are much larger than a vehicle are, so it doesn't scale down to be that small. But a car like this down to 1/32 scale ends up being about 4 inches or so, and that's just too small. For my personal taste. I know there are a lot of people that really like the 1/32 scale stuff, so if you're one of those people and you're looking for a vintage build, this would be, of course, your option. This is sort of a vintage-ish box art in the round 2 vein, but Lindbergh technically doesn't exist anymore. They're just a branch of round 2, the way Polar Lights is, and MPC and AMT for that matter, if you would really get technical about it. I don't know anything about this kit. I've never actually even seen one. Parts content-wise, if you're looking for a 1940 Ford convertible and you don't realize it exists, there is a kit from Revell Monogram that they did in the mid-90s, early 90s of a 1/24 scale of this, pretty much the exact same car you're looking at there. So the one new kit we had this week, that would be this kit out of Fujimi. This is the last of Fujimi's July releases. Much delayed. It was supposed to originally come out in March, and this, of course, is a Lotus Europa Special, branded for the Circuit Wolf series. That's why it was supposed to come out back in the spring when they released all those other Circuit Wolf reissue kits. I have not seen this kit in person. I don't have one on order. I have the Tamiya kit. The Tamiya kit is full detail. This is not at all full detail. It is curbside in the worst sort of way. It is modern Fujimi in the worst sort of way. For a lot of people who've done the Fujimi dance, if you want to call it that, recently through the last, especially, say, 4 years, realize that Fujimi sort of is very, very hit and miss as of late. The GT3 cars, go wrong way. the all the BMWs, the McLarens, the Mercedes, they're basic kits. They're 55, 65 parts. Very, very simplified. They're not full detail, but when you assemble them, they look like the cars are supposed to look like, and they do so in a manner that doesn't make you very conscious of the cost savings that was involved. You realize the cost savings when you look at the chassis and the way that it's very few pieces. You are conscious of the cost savings about the fact there's no engines or anything else like that. Only the BMW actually even has any kind of chassis detail in the sense that it has the exhaust pipes in the center tunnel on the underside. The other two are just flat, aerodynamic plates because that's the way the real cars are. But, in an overall sense, they're satisfying builds. They're not, you don't really notice the cut corners that much when you're building it or when you, especially when you're looking at it. There are, of course, giant detail upsets from the likes of Hobby Design and Studio 27 if you really want to go all out and photo etch the things and make everything photo etch. Check the Mercedes SLS, it has photo etch in it, and you really don't even have to worry about it. But when you start talking about street cars like the Veneno, like the Aventador, like the F12 Berlinetta, and things like that have been new kits, new tools, the Reventon, I'm trying to think, I'm looking around, all my stuff's moved on me, it's all in different places than it used to be. All my foreign kits used to be up here, and now they're all over here. None of that stuff is Fujimi Enthusiast Series. It's not even Fujimi for Advanced Builders Series anymore. The Honda CRZ was another good example of that, where they really, I don't know if they do kit detailing based on how many product they tend to sell or what, because this new Circuit Wolf car, this new Lotus Europa Special, is what we're talking about, not Fujimi in general, that Lotus, the Tamiya kit's full detail, full engine, transaxle, the whole 9 yards. It's an 80s tool. Just dropped my water ball on the floor, sorry for the crash. And it is what it is in that sense, but it still holds up, just like all the rest of the Tamiya's late 1980s, early 1990s tooling does. All the historic car, best historic car series and stuff like that, and not the best vintage series. That's Aoshima and their motorized tooling stuff. But this kit has a interior tub. It doesn't have separate, as they likes to call them, door cards. The door panels are molded in as a tub, like a 1960s, 1970s kit. It also shares that terrible Fujimi misfortune as of late, where the seat bottoms are molded into the floor of the interior tub. Now, that probably wouldn't be that big of a deal if the tub in this thing wasn't like the size of a donut. It's a pretty small car in all ways and shapes. I don't understand how you will actually paint between the seat and the center console if there's even a gap there in the first place. It might just be melting into one another. Overall, it doesn't look terribly bad. I'd have to actually see the contents in person to compare them to the full detail Tamiya kit to tell you if it's proportionally accurate or anything else like that, but there's literally no engine detail whatsoever. There is a two-piece split down the middle, enjoy filling the seam, transaxle that the rear axles go through. It's the transmission and the transaxle, but that's it. There's no engine detail at all. Not even a top part, not even a little paint, what we call the painting cups, where everything's molded into a little ball and you stick it in there like the McLaren F1 road car and the McLaren F1 race cars. I'm disappointed with it. I wasn't expecting an Enthusiast Series kit. I wasn't expecting 230-part Lotus Europa. I was, however, thinking maybe that they would at least make it contend with the Tamiya kit. Now, granted, the Tamiya kit's been out of production for a while, but if Tamiya wanted to go out and make a quick buck, they could just run out that kit, assuming they still have the tooling and can get licensing from Lotus to do it, and they'll sell a bajillion of them, and that's the technical term, compared to the Fujimi one, because it's a full detail kit, and the Fujimi one is clearly not. Just, for being a new tool, I don't understand why they bothered. It's Circuit Wolf, I get that. It's what they needed for the series, but it's just, there's parts on the runner that are missing, so there's more versions of this coming, or at least another, maybe a street version that's not directly tied to the cartoon coming. I couldn't care less at this point. I really couldn't. I was hoping maybe it would be, a one-up of Tamiya's kit, and you'd have to consider it in the sense of being all like, ooh, well, it's newer, and it might be better, more gooder. No, it's not, so don't have to worry about that. And lastly, the last thing we're going to talk about today is the reissue of the Aoshima Rocket Bunny, this being the Volk Racing Edition. The Volk and the Yankee, when you hear me talk about the things, are all about the rims the car is sitting on. I personally like this one the best of the two. I just think the car looks badass in black, especially if you go the extra 9 yards and paint the fenders satin black like they are on the car. One interesting thing, I don't know if I've ever actually mentioned it, about this kit, since we have the picture up here, is that if you notice it says 86 BRZ tuning Trust on the side of it there, Trust being a tuning house. The original car, you may remember this if you've been with us the entire year that we've been doing YouTube videos, the original cars, the original Rocket Bunnies were built on Scions. That's why it has a Scion badge on the front. They're all left-hand drive U.S. spec Scions because they could not get their hands on an actual Toyota 86 in Japan. They were all sold out. They had to buy cars in Los Angeles, put them on containers, and ship them back to Japan. The original decals for this car are Scion FRS related, and they do include those decals. So if you really want to build the real car and not this sort of mixture that's on this, this is a Speed Hunters picture. The car really legitimately existed in this graphics scheme. You can build it in its original graphics scheme that includes the actual Scion FRS tuner logos and stuff like that, rather than having the BRZ 86. My idea has always been to go pick up another Subaru BRZ kit and another one of these Rocket Bunny kits, because I already have one. I don't have, but I'm not some people I know in Arizona who should remain nameless, who built like 16 of these Rocket Bunnies with various resin trans kits and stuff like that, was to buy another Rocket Bunny, buy another BRZ, and then make this graphic scheme that's BRZ related and put it on the Subaru, and then, make the actual Scion with the old Scion logos. And that, guys, is that. Man, like I said, weird week. Everything was shorted. Not a lot to talk about. It was many days of checking into places and seeing a great deal of decals being restocked from Shunko models. If you happen to want some Shunko decals, a whole bunch came in, and a whole bunch are being reissued for pretty much everything Shunko ever made decals for some reason or another. And, that's it. Hopefully next week we'll have something to talk about. I know I stretched this into almost 20 minutes, but a lot of that was critique of the Fujimi kit and my lack of enthusiasm for, both the subject matter, because it didn't need to be done, and the way they did the subject matter. So, anyway, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have some actual kit release news to talk about. The Corolla Late Type and the Type 4 Mazda RX-7. I've seen the official box art, so those kits are right around the corner. I don't know if they'll actually come out next week or not. I don't know if that means there's going to be a actual ship this over the weekend or on Monday, but they'll probably be out the first week of August. Otherwise, there was some sort of licensing issue between Aoshima Mazda and Affini, which is the tuning house that did those RX-7s, as to the logos and how big they should be and which one they should be used, and interesting things like that. That's why it got delayed a month. But everything seems to be done now, and it's on its way out. So we'll catch you guys on the other side.